You know there's two Genesis, right? That give two different accounts of the same thing. The Bible literally opens with a contradiction. What do you mean, two Genesis? You mean two different accounts of the Genesis story? Right, Em? We have multiple accounts of many ancient texts, obviously. The Babylonians, Canaanites, Ammonites and Sumerians, etc. all had similar Genesis and pre-flood stories with varying mythology and imaging. What is your point exactly? To me, the fact that multiple societies that waged war on each other whilst believing similar origin stories for humankind, some altering major aspects in each, is evidence towards the general claim having some sort of substance to it. By the way, there's many more accounts of the Genesis story than 2 IDK. Why you stop there? Obviously we picked the ones take that had the man God be born to testify for it, hence the Jesus part, memba? I mean Christians specifically have 2 Genesis chapters. They tell the same story twice, in their own canon, and tell a different version. I'm not talking about other cultures and religions having similar stories in their culture. I mean Christians open their religion with an account of how existence was made and then tell a second contradictory account of how existence was made. First of all, Christians didn't write nor claim they wrote Genesis. It was written by ancient Israelites who were Hebrew. Jewish, Muslims, and Christians all use the Israelite take on Genesis. So no, not just Christians opening with the account for their own religion, it's a Abrahamic thing. Now then, I'm sorry my friend, but you're not making much sense to me. How can it be, in their own canon, but a different version? Are you talking about a singular texts or multiple? I think I know what you're getting at, but I'd like you to clarify. Could you cite your sources? Abrahamic faiths does not detract from it being in Christian faiths. And it can't be written off as well. That's the Old Testament, and we put more faith in the New Testament because firstly, nothing in the New Testament addresses that part of the Old Testament to say, hey, this bit here is actually like this. And more importantly, Jesus regularly talks about the importance of the Old Testament and how it ought to be respected. And my source is go grab a Bible and open it. It's like 25 pages of reading to see that the first chapter is called Genesis I and tells a story, and that the second chapter is called Genesis II and tells a contradictory account of the same story. Or just use Google to see what the first chapter of the Bible is and what the second chapter of the Bible is. It's your holy book. Read it. What are you talking about? You said, Christians open their religion with an account of how existence was made, and I said, Christians all use the Israelite take on Genesis, so no, not just Christians opening with the account for their own religion, it's a Abrahamic thing. I never said the OT wasn't important or valid. Don't strawman me with some vain disregard of the OT just because you don't want to show me what you're talking about. These accounts provide complementary accounts of creation, not contradictory, as there is nothing in Genesis chapters 1 to 2 that conflicts. To go around touting a ham, your book starts with a contradiction actually. Whilst not even reading the passage to check is an act of blatant ignorance, my man, and kinda shoddy work if that's the level of investigation you put into spirituality before disregarding it to people you deem lesser and somehow unable to recognize blatant contradictions. Anyways, it is my holy book and I have read it. It seems between the two of us I'm the only one that has, despite you seemingly having so much to say on the topic. But that's okay. I love the atheist and secularists' passion about God and the Bible. They sure do love to talk about him and I'm down for it. When you're ready to actually discuss what your statement was regarding specifically, then I'll again wait for you to cite your sources and we can talk about it. Again, I've read the Bible and see no contradictions. You're making a claim that there is. I am simply asking you to show me exactly where in the texts it is. After all, you said, just use Google to see what the first chapter of the Bible is and what the second chapter of the Bible is. So just copy and paste the passages you're talking about if it's so easy. I'm not a mind reader and can't disprove you if you're not even willing to show me what you're basing your bad take on.